way. You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up.
Good evening, and good evening again, and welcome to After Dark. This is your girl Yvonne Michelle, and I am here to host this show for you today. I'm super excited today that you are here and we are here all together for this show. Now, we are looking at relationships. This is an adult relationship show, and this is where we deep dive, we go behind the black curtain, and we start to explore and unpack lots and lots of different issues that we have in relationships. So, as you may or may not know, this show has been running for this is the 15th episode, and we also have a full panel. Now, normally we have a split panel between men and women. Sometimes we come together and sometimes we split us separately. Today, we are together and we are going to be discussing rejection. Yes, it is a very meaty subject, and this may go on for another week. We may not get it finished today, but we are looking at rejection in relationships. So I'm going to put these on so that I can see what I need to see. And I hope that you will see what you need to see. And do get involved. Those of you who are on Facebook, I want to welcome you this evening. Those of you who are on YouTube, I want to welcome you this evening. And those of you who are joining us from Media Live TV, welcome this evening. I do hope that you'll enjoy the show. Now, please remember to put your comments in the comment thread, and we will read them out as the show goes on. So, like I said, this is a big people thing. This is big people conversation tonight, and we're talking about rejections. But before we deep dive and go any further, I'd like to introduce tonight's panel. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with the ladies. We have Ruth Carter, the Liberty Coach. Hi, Ruth. How are you?
Hey.
Oh, okay. So you're sorry. We'll. Oh, there you go. If you talk, I think we can hear you. No, you've just muted yourself.
Hey.
There we go. Hey, that's it. Great stuff.
Sorry. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this evening. We also have Lorraine Bailey. Lorraine Bailey is here. She's joining us.
Hi.
Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
We have Karen Eastman. She's also here.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. And we have some gentlemen joining us this evening. We have Kellyon Ross. Kellyon here. Hey, Kellyon.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey.
You good?
I'm good. Thank you very much. And we also have Mr. Tony Cox as well.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, Tony.
Hello.
Good to see you.
And
So, guys, we've been doing this for 15 weeks, so we know how this goes. So, we are talking about rejection. I do believe. Oh, sorry. Hello, we've got Theo Mandelson as well. Hi, Theo.
Hello.
Hi. So, we know how this works. We're going to be discussing rejection and from the viewpoint within relationships and how it affects us, because as we know, the show has started really highlighting singleness within the lockdown period, and the show has kind of grown. And so now we're looking at what are the causes of us not being in relationships, or how can we prepare ourselves better to be in fulfilling lifelong relationships. And it's about us going through those processes and actually knowing what we need to do to move further in that process. So without further ado, we're going to just deep dive into the subject matter. Now, rejection can be defined as an act of pushing someone or something away. right? And that can be a romantic partner. It could even be within the family. But today we are dealing with partnerships. So understanding rejection. Rejection is emotional, and it's because one party or the other, normally one party, doesn't want to be with the other, but we can react or respond differently. So today we're going to explore that. We're going to explore the differences between men and the differences between women, and this is to bring some understanding, that we have an understanding of each other so that we can grow. It's one of the things that we have identified in these sessions, is that men and women think completely different. Do you agree, panel, that we've discovered that? Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, but let's kick off. So I'm just going to open up the floor for whoever wants to jump in first and talk to us about their experience of rejection. So who wants to go first, or do I need to pick one? Should I pick one? Ruth, would you like to go first?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll start off. Evening, everyone. So I've experienced it on both counts, where I have rejected someone and I have been rejected. Got two experiences that I can share on for each of them. One of them was my daughter's father, who I rejected him, and I rejected him because his behavior was violent. His behavior caused stress around, myself and around my daughter. So for me, I rejected him. He didn't like it, and it was returned with threats. I'm going to kill you, this, that, the other. Thank God I'm still here to tell the tale. But, subsequent partners haven't been so lucky with bust sockets in their eyes and, being a coma for 3 months and stuff like that. So for me, I feel that type of rejection for that kind of behavior, I feel was warranted and necessary for safety reasons. So that's one example I wanted to share. And the other example in terms of where I've been rejected was from my last previous relationship that was over 2 years ago. And it was a situation where, in my mind, the relationship was good. We had lots of love. We had great compatibility. There were some opposites, but generally we got on really well. And not only just between us, but between my children, and not just them, and my family as well. And the situation was just one day, and it was just like 7 days prior to a really big event that was going to take place in my life in terms of career. He was here at my house, he was decorating, he was doing stuff, and normally in the evening time he'll go back to London, and he just kind of went down the stairs, said, I'm going now, and I was like, I'll see you out. By the time I got to the door, he was in the car driving off, but I didn't think nothing of it at the time. And then later on called just to see if he got home safe, nothing. And called the next day to see if he was all right, didn't hear nothing. And because I had something to focus on, I kind of didn't bother to call back. But my parents were over at the time and they were traveling back. And my dad was like, oh, I'd really like to see, so-and-so before return home. So I thought, all right, 6 weeks after that event. And bearing in mind, we've just been in a 3-year relationship. So there was no argument. There was nothing untoward, nothing that I could pinpoint to say that there was an issue or anything. So I made that call. I called him up because my dad wanted to see him to say goodbye. And he didn't even know it was me calling one. And he was saying, sorry, things had to end that way. And I just said, thanks for letting me know, because one, I didn't know if you could have died on the motorway. I don't know. I didn't know what had happened, but I just kind of thought, communication is really paramount, because communication is only good as the response you got. And because I got none, I was like, well, what am I you know, I'm not that kind of person to like, oh, you know, yeah, it was a great relationship, but I just thought, you don't respond to me once, you don't respond to me twice. When I do get through to you 6 weeks later, you're telling me about you're sorry how things had to end. All I can say at that point is thank you for letting me know. But it was at that point, that's when I felt the rejection. That's when I felt the hurt and all the feelings and all that kind of stuff, you know, took place. But you do get over stuff like that, regardless how good or how terrible a relationship is. You know, there are ways in which you can overcome those things. So before the lockdown, I was at that point where I'm ready to start dating again. Kind of went on Hinge and went on a date, and then we had this pandemic. So it's kind of been a lockdown kind of dating situation, which I've kind of withdrawn from now because I'm focusing, as I generally do, on other things. So that's my, you know, 2 pence piece on rejection.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you very much for your openness and being so transparent about your journey. In terms of how you coped with that, your partner just kind of like not giving you any props and letting you know it was kind of like some time after. How did that affect you personally?
Well, in the initial part, like prior to that couple of weeks, because at the time he was older than me, he was like 55 or, you know, past the mid-50s at that time. And prior to that situation happening, he wasn't well. He was overprescribed a particular medication, and he's suffered several strokes as a result of it. Now, when I saw him that week, because like normally we'd see each other weekends because I'm working, he's working, and whatever, and my son would go to his dad's every other weekend, so it was generally that time he would come. This particular week, he decides he wants to come for a week, but bearing in mind he's just had these mini strokes and whatever not have you. I'm like saying, stay at home, rest, do what you need to do. He didn't want to listen to me. I'm saying, don't take so many pain, you know, whatever it was he was taking. But he didn't want to hear what I was saying. So when he's telling me his symptoms, I'm like saying, I think you're having strokes, right? That was prior. So I had a concern naturally just about his health and well-being. And did he get home? But because like he didn't respond, I was kind of like, well, I don't know what to do with that. And it does sound a little bit uncaring at the moment, but I was like, I have got something to do. So I was, you know what I mean? It's not like the phone weren't ringing, it was ringing. And it's hurtful, but if you've got a family to raise, I don't feel, for me, I had the time to have a pity party then. But like 6 weeks later, yeah, I cried because I was like, my gosh, I felt like this was my soulmate. I felt like this is someone who I connected with on a real deep level, like spiritual, intellectual, all kind of things. Do you know what I mean? In the time that we were together, I could see that my life had changed. It was, you know, my life had changed as a result of that. You know, my children, everything had changed. Everything was a good thing. So I would be like, why would you want the good thing to last? But I can't answer those questions because I didn't get that resolved. So I resolved myself. You know, I stepped out of it. I dissociated with the situation. So it wasn't unbearable. So I could help and still do what I had to do. I still had work to do. I don't have the job where I can turn up depressed or have a pity party because I'm doing state changes and state managements and stuff like that. So I've got to kind of set my own kind of mindset up so that I can do what I need to do for other people. But for me, I just needed time to heal, and getting involved with someone else wasn't the right thing for me. Jumping in bed with someone else wasn't the right thing for me because I really felt I had connected with this person. So I needed the time. I've had the time. 2 years is enough time, man. And I was ready to start to engage again.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question. I want to come into one of the guys because we're talking about how a man has rejected a female, and I want one of the men to come in and respond to that in terms of, you know, have you ever been in that situation where you know, the partner that you have been with feels that everything is okay, but you as a person have felt that it's not for you, and how you would have dealt with that particular situation? Is there a man? Oh, is that Tony? You coming in, Tony?
Yeah, sure. So I can't say I've had anything exactly the same as what Ruth has just experienced and what she's just explained. But it's one of those situations where I can basically say sometimes you just don't click. And it takes a little while for you to work out whether the relationship going forward is worthwhile staying with, or whether it's something you want to abandon. I've had very few rejections, but I know that the mantra which I've always adhered to is that people grow apart over a period of time. So when I confront rejection, it generally tends to be because me and my partner have grown apart for some reason or another. That period of time could be 16 years, as in my second marriage. It could be 5 years in my first marriage. It could be 6 months. It could be 4 weeks. You know, I don't think there's any secret that relationships come and go. They're things that you have to work on, and some will be good and some will be bad. But I think one of the things that, you know, you kind of have to, you build into your emotional resilience over time, is that you build an immunity to hurt and pain through relationships. When you're in your 20s, you know, you get very easily hurt when it comes to relationships. When you get to your 30s and 40s, you become a little bit more attuned to disappointment. And then as you get even further, you know, I'm now in my 50s, you know, you kind of become almost impervious to pain. So it's a difficult situation, and I you know, I empathize with Ruth. I think it's one of those situations where you basically you have to assess every situation in terms of why did that happen, and was it because there was a difference in opinions on how the relationship was going to go forward. So you might think everything's rosy and that, you know, this is the best thing since sliced bread, but the other person is looking at it and thinking, I'm fighting really hard to keep this, but unfortunately it's not going the way I want it, and therefore I think I'm better off jumping out. And I think that's what's basically happened here, is that, you know, there's been a difference of viewpoint of what one partner sees to the other. Sometimes you get an extended period. So over 16 years with my second marriage, for instance, you know, I could see in the last 5 years differences occurring. And obviously we worked on these differences, and we talk about certain things, and we try to make compromises to make things easier for one another. But at some point in time, those differences become too much to manage, and then at that point you suddenly realize, well, one of the partners says, I've had enough. And normally, you know, the other partner says, well, it hasn't been rosy for a little while, and we've been growing apart, or there's things apart about us that are no longer in sync.
Okay, so my thing is, you know, in terms of rejection, and how, because sometimes it's like one partner has no idea, and then that can sometimes lead to a feeling of bitterness, a feeling of, well, I don't understand why. And if a person, like in Ruth's case, has then turned around and said, well, or has said nothing at all, then how do you navigate your emotions around that? So I know that we as females, You know, don't shoot me down, ladies, but we are more emotionally attached sometimes, a lot of the times, than men are. And we find it sometimes more difficult to deal with those aspects if we're not able to talk things through. Now, I think rejection has got two kind of prongs to it. There's that rejection where you get to talk about it, but then there's also that rejection where you don't. The type I want to talk about is when you don't. It's how do you deal with that? How do you navigate your life through that? Because remember, there are many of us listening, many of us who are in the chat. There is many of us who are sitting here who are single, who have gone through relationships and are now feeling, have gone through that rejection state and want to start a new relationship. But like a few weeks ago, we had the question, how do you deal with somebody who has baggage? Now, rejection, we looked at a different kind of baggage. We looked at like if, you know, somebody been through abuse or something like that. But we didn't really go into or deep dive into rejection. And the rejection is huge and it's deep. It cuts deep. It cuts to the wounds deep. So I really want us to deep dive into that, because I know that there are people waiting to hear what they can do to navigate themselves in a better way of thinking and a better way of doing, so that they can come together and have a meaningful and lasting relationship. So I'm gonna ask Shalomi to come in, because we're gonna go women man, and then we'll all discuss a little bit. So Shalomi, come in. Good evening, Shalomi.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, ladies. Yes, with rejection when it comes to relationship, I haven't had the pleasure to be rejected in a relationship, and I think I'm too old for that. But I guess rejection don't only come from relationship; it also comes from family, institution, many different ways. I've experienced institutional rejection and also family rejection. And rejection do hurt like nobody business. You just have to deal with it, face it, face up to it, and just accountability. What annoy me the most is people don't take accountability. They blame people, they blame things, and they can't blame themselves. Said this is why it happened, or not like that. And with family, you just want to belong. You want to belong to a set of people who don't want you, and you have to look into yourself and realize that you wanting to be a part of people that don't want to be a part of you is going to lead to rejection. You having big ideas going to lead to rejection. So you have to sometimes trying to belong. I realize you sometimes you just want to belong, and you want to be a part of people who don't want to be a part of you. You want to hold on to people who don't mind losing you. So for me, that kind of rejection, and I've come to the reality of like when it comes to people, don't attach yourself to people without knowing their intention. And sometimes the fault is not others, it's sometimes mine. So accountability when it comes to rejection. Relationship, I've just not had that opportunity to have a broken relationship. I did what I have to do, bam scrum, by next one, and that was my life for a while. Yeah, so I can't really talk about relationship like getting rejected from a man or me rejecting a man. I guess.
So Shalomi, have you ever rejected a man rather than the other way round, rather than him rejecting you?
I,
Have you been the one to reject?
I wouldn't say I've used a man. Is that rejection?
Yes.
Is that rejection? I give him something, he give me something, he wanted more, and we part ways, and he wanted more. But I just wanted, go on.
Yeah, but you didn't want. So you were the one. He wanted more, and you didn't. So that is a form of rejecting somebody.
Well, I did make it clear what I want. It's like you go to a shop to buy your goods, you exchange your cash, you get your goods, and you move on. You don't want to go and ask for something after you pay for what you get. So I look at it that way. So if that's rejection, well, I guess yes then. And people want you that you don't want them. Yes, they just automatically think because you're single, you want them, and they try, and you said no. So is that rejection?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
You know,
well, I've done that a couple of times, because sometimes the men that are attractive to me is in the wrong body type. So I guess so. I guess I have it.
so the men are in the wrong body type. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. You're so authentically real. I just love it. I've got a comment here from Alison. She says, I think sometimes people live in denial, especially when in a long-term relationship. Time has been invested and they live in the hope that things will get better, and they are just going through a rough patch. Well, yeah, sometimes, but I think you have to be. I think now where we are at in our lives, we have to be open and honest and real with ourselves. As Shalomi said, you know, sometimes we have to take responsibility for how things end up, and because a lot of the time, as human beings, human nature, we look outside of ourselves. So we're looking outside of ourselves and we're pointing the finger outside rather than looking at what's going on in the inside of us. So that's something, it's a note to self to always self-evaluate, you know, even within the relationship. Is it working? Am I happy with this? And I think sometimes we go through relationships and we don't ask ourselves, we just go through the motions because we have a partner, and sometimes it's easier to just go through the motions than to be honest and just say, actually, this isn't working. It isn't working. So we've got lots of comments coming in on Facebook and YouTube. Guys, keep the comments coming. Keep your comments coming. We are reading them out. Faye Thomas Green is saying, I think a lot of the time we have been told or we have been shown, but we have chosen to ignore it. Now, sometimes that's true. Sometimes the writing is on the wall and we ignore it. So thank you, Shalomi, for your comments. I would love to speak to one of those men that you rejected. I really would, just to see how they feel and how it was for them. Because it's, you know, because the way that you are, it's like, well, yeah, well, I suppose, yeah. I gave them, I told them what my intention was. And like you say, you said, it's like going to a shop. You go, it's a transaction. There you go. I'm giving you this and you're going to give me back that, and that's it. But when emotions are involved in it, it changes the stakes. I'm going to bring in Theo. Theo, are you there? Hello, Theo.
Good evening, good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, everybody.
So, Theo.
Rejection, that's a good one. I've been sitting there racking my brain. I haven't been rejected. And have I rejected somebody? I can't really think to my knowledge. I kind of concur with what Tony was saying. You know, relationships I've had, they kind of just drift apart. We just drift apart over time. So it's not like we are together after a period of time, 4 weeks, 3 months, whatever it may be. We just separate, different interests, time changes. So I wouldn't say there's been a rejection where I've had like a big argument or anything like that, or there's been a big bust up or breakup. Even if I had a long-term relationship, we've kind of split up on good terms. So can't really speak about that one.
So let me ask you that. So in terms of it fizzling out, or it just kind of dies a death, is there no conversation in that? In that, you know, you just stop talking, you stop ringing each other. How does that?
So what would happen is, so if you're speaking to somebody, say every day, and then it will go down to maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, and it slowly but surely it ends up being like once a week, once every other week until it's like once a month, and then just drifts off. So it's not like you've had a separation to that. It's just time.
Ladies, do we concur with this? Can any of you relate to what the guys are kind of saying in the fizzling out and it just, you know? You can answer. You can come in. Come in.
I can't hear very well.
I can hear you.
Neither can I.
Right, so you can't hear me, or you can't hear what you're.
You're very distorted.
Okay. Okay. Well, did you hear the question? What will happen is this. Let's try this. Can you hear me now? Does that make a difference? Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Yes.
So my question is, can any of you concur with what the guys are saying? I'm going to bring Kelly on in after Lorraine, but I want to know, in terms of, you know, we're talking about being in a relationship, things are working, then it kind of slows down, and then it just fizzles out. Because to me, as a female, I would have an issue with that. I'd want a conversation about that. I'm just wondering if the ladies here or any of the ladies on the Facebook or YouTube can concur with the men that it's okay. You know, it's just one of those things. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So Tony's saying yeah. So no one has a comment. Yeah, Karen, do you want to come in? Or Kelly?
Hi, I'll come in. I'll come in. So I've got an experience of in my marriage where, yes, there was a fizzling out, and you know, quite a long time before it actually ended. I could say, yeah, we're not getting on, we're not suited. This is not what I want to do with my life. So at the end of that, it was kind of okay. Us actually breaking up. My divorce I didn't feel any animosity towards him. I didn't feel love and I didn't feel hate. I was just like, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And our divorce it's in itself was quite, you know, straightforward. We never went to court or anything. There's no fighting over the kids. Everything kind of went fine with that, because in my mind I was done, and I'm very communicative, and if I'm done, you're gonna know I done, because there's no, you know, hiding, you know, trying to make everything good when it's not. But my latest relationship, which is now crashed and burned, that was a really weird one for me, because it was like 23 months of everything being absolutely fine. Well, not absolutely, you have your little things here and there, but really nothing big. And then all of a sudden, nothing. And I don't understand that about men, because I've been talking to my girlfriends and they've been saying that's what men are like. They just have to sometimes just cut off and run. They don't even know why they're running, but they're just running. And then what inevitably happens is 6 months down the line, they just come back dragging their tail. And what are you supposed to do then? Because for me, it's like it's over. There's going to be no going back. But I just know for a fact you're going to come back because you didn't deal with this in an adult way. And I don't know what it is apparently with guys, but they just can't seem to sit down and have conversations. Because I think with women, you know, we've got our lists and we also have things that we need to talk out. And I just think guys they just can't do that. And yeah, that's what helps to build baggage for me, because then going forward, when they say to me that they're communicative or they, you know, I'm always everything is kind of like sullied going forward. I would think I can't just think straight that when somebody says something, it's actually what they mean. With me, I say what I mean. There's no gray areas. I act like I mean. So I would like, you know, guys to be more like that. But I don't know. Is it really something that's so impossible for guys to do? I don't know. What are you saying, Kels? Is it impossible? You guys can't just talk it out. Because now
I'm
all
about
that's
to talk
happening
to you.
is I've had to
I'm
deal
about to
with
talk to you.
rejection. And my heart is
Would you like me to
my heart is broken,
Would
Kel.
you like me to answer the question? Would you like me to answer the question?
Yeah, answer it.
Right. So you're asking me to talk, yet I can't talk because you're talking away. That's the
Just
problem
talk
as well, isn't
then.
it?
Talk now.
Oh, okay. This is when it now ton up, yeah? All right. Basically, it's this, right? Everyone's different, yeah? We're individuals. If you're going to put yourself in a commitment, then you should kind of know if you're going to be able to talk with this person for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Okay? So to just go into a relationship in itself, you have to check these things out. So, I mean, obviously, this subject is about rejection, yeah? But what I'm hearing also is going into something and not really knowing what you've got yourself into until maybe about almost 2 years later. Okay, so yes, some men do talk, some men don't talk. Some women do talk, some women don't talk. Okay, you got to find that person that's going to talk with you for the next how many years. You can't put all men under one umbrella. It doesn't work like that. So you're going to have to find that person that's going to be with you for the next how many years. That's the first thing. But go on, Karen, say something. Let's talk.
Did you
Come,
not hear
because you
what I
want to
said?
talk.
Communication wasn't a problem. We talked all the time. What I'm saying is we talked all the time. It's
Yeah.
not that was the point. The point is at the point of the rejection, then it's like
Yeah.
nothing. That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Right,
saying
okay.
that I would give somebody that can talk for 3 months.
Okay,
Come on.
All right, so let me just be clear. So you're saying that how you actually had the divorce was civil. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
But who's the one that first said, you know what, I don't think this is working?
I was talking about 2 different relationships. So
let's just talk about one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, just so that I'm just on track, because we don't want to lose time here. Who was the person that said, I don't think this is working?
Are you talking about the last relationship where I feel as if I had a real rejection? Then obviously it's him, because I'm the one that's in the rejection.
Right. So was it you that decided to walk away, or was it him?
Him.
He decided that?
Yes. Without a conversation.
Okay.
When I speak to my girlfriends, they're the one that's saying to me, that's what guys do. So that's why I'm like,
necessarily, but
so basically,
what say all men, but it does happen.
Right. So basically, what I think Karen is saying is that it seems to be with women, when women are talking, there seems to be a common thread that this is something that guys generally do, not to put everybody in the same basket.
Never.
And generalizing, and we don't want to get into the generalizing thing, but what she's saying is in her experience and talking to her girlfriends, that this is something that happens at the end of a relationship, right? So in the relationship,
let me talk about my marriage then.
Yeah, go on.
Let me talk about my marriage then, so that we can get straight to the point. Okay, right? It didn't work out. Okay, I wanted to talk, but she didn't want to talk.
Okay.
And still up to now, some things that have happened. I'm talking like 12 years ago now. There's some things that I feel that should have been talked about. We should have resolved, but she didn't want to resolve it. So
okay.
I'm now in your shoes now, Karen, where I actually want to sort. Okay, the marriage just didn't work. It just dissolved. I tried to patch it, tried to bring it back together. She just didn't want to. Okay, cool. I mean, we're fine now. We're good friends now. I would have thought even being good friends, we're going to talk about some things, but it looks like it's just going to just lay in the coffin. But I wanted to talk. She didn't want to talk. What am I now an alien? Am I just one of those guys, you know, that does want to talk?
No, you're not an alien, my darling. You're not an alien. But I think, well, guys, there's three of you here. The guys can come in. Theo, come in, because, yeah, you've got something to say. Theo, come in.
So what it is, with me, I always told the lady up front what the relationship was about. So if we went there, we went there. So I always told them up front. So when it fizzles out, it fizzles out. So there was no, like, they didn't know from the get-go if it was a serious relationship or not. So it was told from the, I laid it out, and that was it. I've had women turn me down and say, no, they're not in for that. That's fine. Maybe that's my rejection, but I didn't really see it that way. So
I see. But this is the thing. This is the thing here, right? And this is what I know. And I know this for sure. Even though you would have had those relationships and you would have been crystal clear that this is what it is, one out of the two of you, and normally in some cases it's the female, one out of both of you will catch feelings with the best intentions in the world. Right, with the best intentions of the world, we can have this thing, we can have a little ting, 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 ting. But there's going to be a time, if it goes on for a period of time, let's say if it goes on for maybe let's say 12 weeks, somebody out of you is going to catch feelings and want more. This is where rejection comes in. So does it matter that you say that this is a little something? It's not a serious relationship, because when you start to spend time with somebody and you start to have that sexual connection with someone, I'm just going to go there, that people catch feelings. People want more. And most case scenario, it's the woman. And then because the man, even though he said in the beginning it's nothing, his actions are telling her that it could be something. It feels like something. We're in a something. So by the time he's like, yeah, I'm ready to dust out now, she's caught feelings, and then she's the one, even though she hasn't spoken it, more than likely feels rejected because of that relationship. Is that a fair analysis to say?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I was as consistent, so I didn't change how the relationship was. So if she wanted more, there was never going to be any more given.
Mm-hmm. But what is more to you, and what is more to
Whatever more she wanted. So
right?
if it was more of my time, that was never going to happen. If it was doing extra things that we didn't normally do, that was never going to happen. Because I knew if I did, then it would take on another dimension of the relationship.
Okay. So come Shalomi. I see your finger up. I see Shalomi, then Kelly on coming.
What I notice is some people get a few little bum and call it a relationship, right? That's what people go on dates and they call it a relationship. Somebody say to you, listen, I would just want to have a good time, nothing else, and people get the feelings caught up in that and call it rejection. People married for papers and then decided they want more than what they collected, and then feelings get. So rejection to me come in like self-rejection. Some things are not rejection. Some things is common sense is not so common amongst a lot of people. Because if I say to you, you know what, I just want to have a good time with you, and then you're gonna get your feelings tied up in me, that my feelings ain't available to you. I just want to have a good time. And then you call it rejection, then you get bitter. I've had instances where people get bitter when I said, you know what, that's just a trial, like nothing, and they get the feelings involved. Rejection is part of life. Everybody has to be rejected, but not because we want someone or something, we are going to get it. And this is my problem, because you have some people speak it, say them want to, claim it, speak it and claim it, something like that. And some men is out of your reach and some women is out of your reach. And some woman want some man that is out of their reach. And some man wants some woman that is out of their reach. So I believe some rejection are self-inflicted. I believe it is self. You know how it's gonna end. Like you know from you see a guy, if he has money, you're just gonna take a few money and then buy. You have some man, they don't kiss you because that's not what they want. They just want a bam, and then a woman want more. So let's be real about this rejection thing, right? Because so I see everybody rejection. If somebody don't want you, they don't, and you know that they don't want you. Like, it's like you see some guy and you know you're gonna give him the wrong phone number. As you see him, you know you're gonna give him the wrong phone number. But you have some guys that just think I can have any, like a guy would be 5 feet and he will come up to me, looking up to me, and he think, you know what, I can have any woman. And then I say to him, listen, I want no guy that I look down to. I want to be able to look up to my man. You disrespect me, right? Because in your head, you think you could have almost a 6 feet, even though you're 5 feet. Some woman sleep with a man, and he said, well, your penis ain't big enough. They think it's rejection. Yeah? Like, to me, it is what it is. I don't even want to be rude. I want to be nice. But
Just
let's
go.
be honest.
Mhm.
Yeah? I can want a guy on this panel, but he doesn't want me. Like, and if he said to me, my girl, you're all right, but me no want you. Yes, I would have take a one bang, but me no want you. And I decide to give him the one bang and then gonna cause problem on the internet and make him life a living hell. Yeah? So enough of these black women, they are hungry because it was meant to be a half night stand. You weren't meant to sleep till the morning, and somehow morning catch you and you wanted more. Yeah, and I see that with a lot of women, right? We are hungry because we agree for one little time and we want more than one time. Yeah. And women, we black women have this attitude. We like, I'm a woman, right? But we have this
Mhm.
attitude, right? And you hear that the man married, you want to go after him. You hear that he's gone through a phase of breakup, you want the man. What's gonna happen? You weren't rejected. Common sense is not so common amongst a lot of black women. And then the black man said they want a white woman because they're more calm. Because we're hungry. Come, we will mash thing, we will bash thing, we will break a car that have 5 years to pay off for. Yeah. So we have attitude and we need to address our attitude and be honest. Be honest. If a man disrespect another woman, you ain't gonna change him. He's gonna disrespect
Mhm.
you. Yeah. If he's
Yeah.
not minding his children, he's not a good man. Good owl cannot owl no man. Baby cannot owl no man. But we have this attitude. Oh, my belly flat and your belly bang. So the man want me, because me have a nice shape. Right? So we black women, when we talk about black, we have this issue. Yeah, we're
Mhm.
thinking because we look better, we are better than the other woman, we're gonna change a player. We can't even change a player. We have to change the game. Yeah. So this rejection thing, we reject ourselves. Yeah. We
Okay.
reject ourselves by not accepting the truth and that we do let some man use we. Yeah. We do it. Let's be honest. We sleep here, we sleep there, and we emotion. It was meant to
Mhm.
be a one night stand, and we're crying. We end up crying.
So is that a true reflection of the conversation? So on a one night stand, is that the conversation that you're having before the stand or the half night stand happens? Shalomi, you got
As
some links. You
if you give him on the first night, come on, what conversation could have held? Like you give it up on the first night. So come on now, what you want? Like what could you like you give it up on the first time you see the guy. So how could you be rejected?
well, listen. Well, that's a one night stand. That's a one night stand. So yeah, in that respect, I suppose it would be right. I just want to read out some of the comments that are coming in. Andrea Maxwell saying women need to be real and honest about what they want, as well as the man telling them what he wants. Just Debbie said, I'm sorry, but you cannot blanket statement all black women. That might be what you think, but you don't represent all black women. Okay, so Just Debbie, we want to hear more from you. I'm sorry, but all of that is pure and utter horseshit, excuse my language. So we're going to allow you to come back in, Chinami, but I'm going to bring in Lorraine and then Kelly on. Lorraine, can you come in?
Hi. I wanted to say that when I was younger, I realised that I was actually quite cold when it comes to rejection, because if I didn't want to be with you, I'm still actually quite a very matter-of-fact person, and I'm trying to work on it. It was actually brought up to my attention again today. But if I didn't want to be with you, I just told you. You would have had a warning, like things ain't working out, you're not doing this, or I'm not feeling that. You'd get a warning, and if nothing changed, I'd just be like, I don't want to be with you. Sorry, that's it. I'm done. I'm walking away. And no matter how much you beg or whatever, that just made it worse. That just made me not want to be with you even more, and I was quite cold until it happened to me. It's the one and only time I've ever been rejected, and I was devastated. I was like, I can't believe someone's done that to me. But yeah, I've done it just easy, just like that. And it made me realize how cold and horrible I actually was. But now that I'm older, I've come to a place where I don't think I even recognize rejection all the time, because just before the pandemic, the lockdown, I started talking to somebody. I met someone out, and then the lockdown happened and we started talking to each other through messaging and phone calls. And one day it just stopped. And when one of my friends said to me, oh, yeah, when was the last time you spoke to that guy? Have you heard from him? And I said, oh, do you know what? I haven't spoken to him for about 2 weeks. And she said, oh, he's ghosted you. You've been rejected. And I said, oh, have I been rejected? And she was like, yeah, like, how do you feel? And I thought, oh, I didn't notice. Like, he just don't like me. If you don't like me, you don't like me in that way. And I didn't think nothing of it. But I've learned from being rejected myself that if I did need to reject someone, I think I would do it in a much nicer manner than I did when I was younger, because it's hurtful.
So lessons were learned. I'm glad you said that, Lorraine. I'm glad that you brought that up. I know Kelly on wanted to come in, then I'm going to bring Tony in because I see Tony's finger up. Kelly on, come in. What's your response?
I can equate to what Lorraine just said just now. I'm used to women that if they don't want to have a relationship with me, sorry, or they just don't think it's going to work, they just cut off. Like, cut. Done. Okay? And as the guy, because I do believe that men are built in that sense for rejection, because it's part of the hunt. It's like watching David Attenborough and seeing the animals, especially lions, go out to hunt, and it's only maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 times actually catch their prey. Okay, that's men. Yeah, we're on the hunt, and it's like, okay, that didn't work. Next. Okay, so from what I understand about men, Theo, and yeah, I can see Prinod just said, and also Tony, not everyone's going to say yes. So we're used to moving on. Whereas for women, as I understand it, not used to rejection in that sense, because as far as they're concerned, they're the best thing since sliced bread. They are like the mother nature. They are the rose. They are the fragrance in the ear. Okay. Now I'm not saying all, but for what I know, a woman would not approach a man, the old tradition lady, because she doesn't want to feel like be rejected. And then she's gonna wait for him to approach him. Obviously, that rejection could maybe come. So he approached her. That rejection could come maybe if he didn't approach her. So maybe you might feel rejected there. That's the indirect rejection. But men, we're just used to being directly rejected. I think rejection, there's different levels of it. That's what I can agree with what Shlomi was saying. Rejection in a marriage, especially if there's children involved. And I have experienced this where not being able to see my children for some months. Yeah, because of, it's part of that whole rejection thing. And men have, as you know, yes, it's bad now, but it may be 5-10 years ago, you just wanted to see your kids, and unfortunately there are repercussions in that, in terms of that, when it comes to rejection. If it's a one night stand, I mean, for goodness sake, like, hey, how can that really, as I can agree with what Shlomi's saying there. I've had it where even on dating apps where I'll be talking with a young lady and then she just stopped talking. So, okay, I guess that means that I have to now move on, But I've had it as well where women have hollered at me and I've not responded. Is that rejection? I guess maybe it is rejection as well.
It works both ways. I think there's a difference between, like being on a dating site and someone talking to you and then it fizzles out. I think once human beings connect with each other, I think that and have a relationship of whatever sort, and normally I think there are some people who have relationships and it's not sexually based and have a level of intimacy because they're spending time, they're giving their energy to that person, and they would feel devastated should that relationship end. But I think there is more damage done when it is a sexually based relationship and it then fizzles out for whatever reason. Would you agree with that? And Tony, I'm going to bring you in then, Lorraine.
Okay, just okay. Go on.
No, I was waiting for you to come in. That's what I was waiting for you to respond.
Oh yeah. Just just very quickly, right? I mean, just so that we're not kind of just repeating all what's been said, yeah. Okay. Some things work, some things just don't work, and it's just a thing of like just. But unfortunately, what I don't understand is when it has been cut off. This bit I don't get. If I don't feel like a relationship is going to continue with somebody, I don't just stop talking to them. That bit I don't understand. I don't understand that part. Personally speaking, because I would like that. We were friends. Sexual. I'm not bothered about it because as far as I'm seeing it, if I can give to you, because I don't see where you can be in a relationship and you're not strengthening them, you're not developing that person, you're not pruning them, and vice versa. So I've had it where I've been in a relationship and I didn't think it was quite working, but I just stopped talking. It's just like, so I don't feel like we can be a couple, but yeah, I could be your friend, right? But some women can't do that. It's just and that's it. I don't get that.
But I don't
some men as well.
I agree with you there, Kelly. I don't get that. But I tell you what, Shalomi's statement is really sparking on Facebook. They're not happy. But we love Shalomi, and this is what it's about. So there's a lot of upset about the analogy of black women. But let me say this. This analogy of black women is how the world views us, right? And we got to be honest. We got to be to the point. It's jugular time. Shalomi has hit the nail on the head, and it has sparked something in the chat, because now it's like, well, we're not angry black women, but actually sometimes, I'm going to say not all the time, but sometimes, yes, we bloody well are. We're angry. And this is what this is about, because we want to get past that. We're angry because of how we may have been treated by men. We're angry because of, but Shalomi has put a good fact in. Sometimes, as Theo said, in relationships that he's had, he's made it clear from day one what it was. Yeah?
Just a quick thing. I've got Kim has said here, Kim Samsam said, also men are programmed to logically seek sex, whereas women are programmed to have a relationship. Men are not logically, that I think that use of word there, I don't think it's correct. We're driven. We say
Yeah.
we are driven. Yeah, we are sexual beings. Women are sexual beings too. Yeah, let's not get that twisted. Right? If we're talking about the order of things, yeah, okay, we can say men work outside in, so we look on the outside and then the inside. Women work inside out. Yeah, we can, you know. But when a woman's ready to get her rocks off, the man best be ready. Right? Okay. So I don't think it's a logical thing, but yes, men are driven. We do want relationships as well. Don't think that we don't. Okay. And some of us do have sisters and we have mothers.
Yeah,
You know, so
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Kelly. It's true. It's true. It's true. But I do. I want to bring Tony in because Tony had his hand up, and I want to be fair to everybody, so everybody gets a say when you put your finger up. So, Tony, what was the comment that you wanted to make?
Okay, so there's so much to unpack here. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are weighing in on different aspects of the conversation. It's very difficult at times to keep a track of exactly who to address and what point to address. But relationships can be akin to a job interview or a job that you're going to go into. In life, you're going to go to different jobs. Yeah, most people don't have the same job from the time they leave school to the time they die. They go through a period of different jobs, and most people again will accept rejection at some point in a job. You know, if you do the right thing, you end up creating your own job, and you can generally be your own boss, and you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. But a lot of people will be able to understand where I'm coming from in terms of understanding that, you know what, sometimes you give your best into a job and you still get rejected. And you thought you was doing so well. You really did. You know, I was on time, never late. I put in the overtime. And then you come around one day and said, excuse me, sir, thank you very much, but unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go. And you're like, wow. You know, so I've been there. I've been top salesman in a company. I've had accolades, you know, them things up there. And you go, I was all of that to you, but you would still release me instead of going, well, let's make sure we keep him because he's a star. And that's what happens in life sometimes. You think you're doing so well with a man, yeah? Or you think you're doing so well with a woman. I'm buying her the flowers, I'm turning up on time, I'm making the calls, and you just think, I am doing everything to make this woman happy. And I'm enjoying it because if you're like me, you get joy in giving, yeah? But sometimes the rejection comes, you know, like, really? And it's one of them things. You will get hurt when you're in your 20s. And if that happens in your 20s, by the time you hit 50, you're like, well, you know what? It is what it is. If you couldn't accept me for what I was and appreciate the good that I bring to the table, c'est la vie. Move on to the next job. You know? The comment Shalomi made about black women applies to all races, Shalomi. It does. And I, you know, I've married black and I've married white. I've had relationships with various cultures, and I know it applies to both. The angry black woman is the angry. There's anger in a lot of different people of different races. So I don't think I'd like to taint black women with they're always angry, because it ain't always the way. I know a lot of loving people who don't get into the you know, the angry side. You know, don't get into that. You know, I've got to paint your car red and slash your tires mode. But then I've known white women, Indian women could be just the same. So it's a global thing. It's not unique to one race. Yeah, I think I'm there. I think I'm done for now.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for that contribution. And you're right. There is good and bad in every race. Absolutely, I agree with you there. However, there's always a however. I think that in my interpretation of what Shalomi is saying, I think she's addressing black women because most of the demographic of this show is black. And so, and that is how we are perceived worldwide. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. There's no thing, you don't hear the angry white woman, you don't hear the angry Asian woman, you hear the angry black woman. That is a thing, that is a stigma that we have. And Shalomi has identified that and brought that up. And so it is something to be addressed, because in a relationship, I know, but all races can be doing stuff and saying stuff, behaving badly. But I will say this, is that we have to address us. We have to address ourselves of where we are in our relationship. So I do agree with what Tony said. It is all races, but not all races have that stigma on them. And I'm not saying it's the right thing, because I don't feel that I know many angry black women. I don't actually. And I know a lot of black women. And I don't really know many that are, I would say she's just an angry black woman. Do you see what I'm saying? But we do need to address it, because that's how we perceived, because we are, what's the word I'm looking for? There is something about the black woman who is assertive, right? And sometimes assertiveness is mistaken for aggressiveness, because we are confident a lot of the time in what we are saying. And that may be that I don't like you, I don't fancy you, I'm not interested in you, or whatever the statement may be. I think that we are assertive, and sometimes it's misconstrued as being angry, but it doesn't take away the stigma. It doesn't. So that's just to kind of clear that up. Sadie is saying here that rejection can be attached to other issues. We know that to be true. And she says, I also think it depends on people's interpretation of rejection. So again, going back to what Theo had said in terms of his relationships, that he'd made it clear. So as far as he's concerned, as he had said, he don't feel like he's hurt anybody, or anybody should feel rejected, because he made it clear all the way through that relationship. But we know that doesn't necessarily pan out to be that way. I'm going to bring in, I see like Ruth and Karen. I want to get some more input from you, because I'm going to start with Ruth, because Ruth was the one who initially started off this conversation and was saying about her experience of her partner, as it was a loving relationship. It was going somewhere, and it was a shock. She didn't realize until 6 weeks after, and it had been a period of a relationship over 2 years. And so, or it might have been longer actually, I don't know. But in terms of hearing this conversation, what thoughts come to you, Ruth? Can you hear me? I know that there's a slight delay. Can you hear me, Ruth?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, Kellyanne. And Theo can hear, but Ruth, I don't think Ruth's hearing. She can't hear.
She's frozen. I think she's frozen. No,
she's not. She's not frozen. She's saying she can't hear. All right, let me move over to Karen. Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, darling. So I'm just going to flip the same question to you in terms of where you're at and hearing this conversation, because you again said it was decided there was no communication. So hearing all of this, how does it equate in your mind? Hearing this.
I mean, there was no communication at the end. So the rejection itself is, for me, neither here nor there, because I'm the kind of person, one, you didn't need to tell me no twice. I ask a whole load of questions, but I think Kel said something about you at least think that you're that person's friend, and that is the bit that I found a bit hard to deal with. Us not being in a relationship anymore is fine, because life is too short. I'm quite quick at picking up and just moving on from that mind space. But it was just the fact of the not talking after. But I know that I had to do a lot of thinking, and I think very quick, and I could change my actions very quick and how I deal with things quite quick. And I just shifted my mindset. And for me, it was simply this. I'm judging him by my own standards. So I'm judging him by how I think I would respond to the same thing. But that's not his experience. That's not his life. So therefore, I just have to realize, I just need to let him deal with it the way he's dealing with it. And the way I'm dealing with it is to just look after myself. And I realized that a lot of the rejection I'm feeling is more about my addiction to the attachment to him. So once I was able to realize these certain situations in my head, I was quite quick in moving on emotionally. So emotionally, I moved on quite quickly because as far as I'm concerned, that's come to end. Better for me to know as soon as possible. Thank God it wasn't drawn out. Do I want to have 23 months of a horrible relationship that fizzled out? Or I had a great relationship and it just fell off a cliff? And to me, looking back at it now, I prefer the latter as opposed to the former. And I'm happy now. It's done, it's over, and I've moved on. And that's how I've dealt with the rejection in this instance. Whatever it was, it's in a capsule and I've moved on. And I'm definitely, number one, I'm a woman. Number two, I'm Black, and I'm not angry. And I've never got into any big confrontations with people in regards to rejection at all. I'm quite a logical person. Like Theo said, you go into something and you make it very clear what you want or what you don't want. And I'm fine across the board. If it's going to be a relationship or if it's going to be something short time, I'm not really, one to catch too many feelings over things that might happen in the bedroom. That's just me. And that's how I live my life. Life is too short. I'm not going to be crying over anyone. Spilt milk, done, move on. And that's it. That's me. That's how I deal with rejection.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Karen. You said something so key. So key. It's like you just dropped a bomb. You just dropped a gem. And you said you judge that person. We can only judge by our own standard. And our
Yes.
standard is not their standard.
No.
And so how they will perceive what's going on is completely different. And I think that this is something that we could all learn in relationships, that when things don't go right, we get into a sense of, oh, he's done this, or oh, she's done that, and don't they think of this, and don't they think of that, and blah 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 blah. But actually, we have to remember that we can only judge according to our own standard, and our standard and the person. It doesn't matter how long you've been with them. You can lay down with them for 55 years. Their standard is not going to be the same as yours. And so thank you for that. That was an absolute gem. There's so much going on in Facebook and on YouTube. Gosh, it's hard to keep up. Lady Destiny says the man who has rejected may have self-esteem issues, so rejects to make himself feel better and doesn't feel a need to explain his rejection. I don't know, but we're going to come into Ruth, because I went to Ruth. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Ruth? I don't think Ruth can hear. No. Okay, so right, so we've got some more comments in the thread. We've got lots of people watching. Right, a lot of people agreeing with what Tony said. Right, and Tisha Brady saying, yeah, she doesn't subscribe to being an angry Black woman. I understand that. And Sadie saying, is it anger or confidence? Which goes back to what I was saying earlier about that. I think Faye Thomas is saying, I think we are powerful, and that is sometimes intimidating. But Tony has come back to say Black men are commonly called aggressive, which is very true. Very true. I'm a teacher, and I know a lot of fellow Black male teachers who are, I don't know what that says. It's got a lot of letters there. Tony, do you want to come in and say what that comment is? Because it's quite a quick. I don't know how. I
Yeah,
cannot
sorry
say
about that. I hit send before doing my proofreading. Sorry. So yeah, I work. I'm a part of a network of black teachers, and we do conversate with one another, and we often talk about this issue of being seen as aggressive or angry with our white counterparts, especially in our work environments. And it's just a label that we get. It's a stigma, and it just compounds what you've been saying, you know, about, you know, black people in general, both male and female, quite often just get labeled aggressive, because when we talk with passion, we're aggressive. Yeah, listen, we don't even have to talk. We could just be holding a camera, and a white person's gonna go, you know what, he's attacking me. Because we all see the Karens, yeah? Sorry, Karen. But we all see the Karens recently. And I see them every day now for some mad reason. You know, black man walking down the road. Some white woman doesn't like the way he's walking. So she's going to ring the police and weaponize what goes on from there on. So, yeah, you know what? It is what it is. We as a race are quite often denigrated to being aggressive.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for just because I wanted to get that point across, because it came up in there. So, and it was something what Shalomi said. Shalomi, come in, because I can see you've got your hand up. Yeah, come in. You've got to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. If we're having a conversation about black women, we're talking about black women. If we're talking about angry woman and you're not an angry woman, it's okay for you not to defend yourself. What people don't understand, if you don't eat pork and pork is served to you, don't yam it. You just don't yam pork. You understand? This is how life is. Sometimes we take on things that don't even apply to us. On a hold, you understand? Not every black woman gonna be the same. Not every black man gonna be the same. As I said, common sense isn't so common, because I notice in every conversation, people have to really fine line and print out everything. Not everybody the same. We are all individual based on our culture, our religion, our faith. People are different and have different views. Talking to men recently, I realized that most men feel rejected. Most men, because I haven't talked to all men, they feel rejected. One of the things I've noticed is that women, they always want presents, they want to be remembered. And like myself, I'm just one of those women, that one of those black women, black Jamaican woman, who think that my man should look good and I should look after my man and I should buy things for my man. And many Jamaican women would say, you are idiot. You understand? So in every culture, you're going to have that different one. Man, what I realized from speaking to man, they need, like on the birthday, not to get sex, like to be taken away, probably on a nice little holiday, to be treated nice sometimes. You understand? So rejection comes in many forms, because in most cases, not all cases, women think that only their feelings matter. You understand? Only their birthday matter. Only what they're going through matter. Not realizing that men do. It was weird at first when a man said, you never remember my birthday. I actually call him a sissy. And then I realized, because how I was grown up is like man to be strong. That is as a Jamaican culture. Man, if they do certain things, you're a sissy. You understand? You want present, you're a sissy. You understand? So when you grow up in a culture, so come in now and seeing man, oh, you never remember my birthday. And I'm like, your birthday? Oh, I was sick and you didn't call me. And I was like, there goes another crying baby. So we have to learn and we have to adapt that men want their foot massage. The first time a guy tell me massage him back, I was like what is? You understand? So I have learned and I've grown that yes, them want get a little bag, and when them looking there want sexy underpants in there. You remember them. You understand? So as I said, man have feelings too. They do, even though they act. The first time I saw a man cry, I couldn't stop laughing. He was upset. I'm thinking, yeah. So it's about learning, adapting. When I say black woman, I'm black woman, not all black women. Not all black women even talk to black man, right? So yes, we always think about us when it comes to our feelings, and that's where rejection, I believe, come in lots of time. And for me, buying stuff for man now, I've been called an idiot by my own kind, because we're not used to treating man, we're used to taking things, right? So we have to learn, not all Jamaicans are taker. Most of us is a taker. Not all black women are angry. Most of us will, like me, they would think I'm hungry. I'm one of the most lovingest, calmest person when you peel those skin and get under them, baby. You understand? But to get to to get to where I'm vulnerable, you have to go deep. I'm gonna put up this front, but it's just a front. You understand? It's protecting me. But I'm generally a nice person, right? I think. But as I said, rejection comes in many forms, and man wanna be loved too. Black man matters. Is that a slogan? Black man feelings. Black man feelings.
I think you've just made a slogan, Shalomi. Black man matters.
Black man feelings matters, right? And if a man wanna talk and hear, they wanna know that, you know what, it's anniversary and it's not them doing it, right? The woman, you understand, planned something and said, you know, I'm gonna surprise you. Because sometimes they don't want to talk about the feeling because women call them sissy and let them look weak and soft. So rejection come through many forms that they don't want to ask, and if they ask the wrong Jamaican woman, they're gonna call you a sissy, right? So I'm saying Jamaican because I'm Jamaican, right? I can't talk for nobody else. Yes, but black man feelings do matters, and rejection come in many forms, like many different liquor forms.
Thank you, Shalomi.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for that. Theo, come in, because I could see you like with your hand up, like, yeah. So come in and you can respond to what Shalomi is saying.
No, I was loving that. I was loving that, man. I was loving that. Shalomi, I'm useless at dates. My wife will tell you. I even forget my own birthday. So birthday presents and all that, whatever. It's overrated. If I get one, it's nice, but no. And the foot massage, I don't think I've had that since I played football. And the massage my feet. I've never even requested that. So whichever guy's doing that, I don't know, man. They're pampered. I'm like you. I grew up in Jamaica, so yeah, I'm not used to that kind of living. So it's all good. But yeah, I was enjoying that. So shalom, yeah. But is it black man's feelings matters? Yeah, I like that one. I'm gonna use that one.
Yeah, I like that. Black man's
yeah, we like that one.
Matter.
Yeah. But can I address the aggressive black woman? I'm seeing the comments going up, and as Shalomi says, if that's not you, you don't have to defend it. We know it's a stereotype. We all know it's a stereotype, and it's what's been said. We've all had it. We've all heard it. I've had it. I'm not even an aggressive guy, but we've all heard it. We've all said it. So people defending it and shouting it out, it's like not really need to do that. It's not that deep. We're all black people on this panel at the moment. So we all know what it is. We've all actually experienced it. The minute you raise your voice at work or any environment, your class is aggressive. It is what it is. Even if you're not aggressive, your class is aggressive. So we don't have to defend it and make it into a big strap line going on and on and on. Yeah.
Let's not be too sensitive.
Yeah, we're very touchy and sensitive over
words.
Things that's not necessary.
But we had this. We did when were you there the week when it was said baggage. People getting upset with the word baggage. So, guys, if it doesn't apply to you, don't take it on.
Don't take it on, man.
Don't take it on, man. Just leave it alone. It's not
as
your bag
Shalomi
to
said,
carry.
Shalomi said, if you don't eat pork, don't eat pork. It's simple, isn't it?
Yeah. Kellyanne, come in, please. You're on silent, babe.
Mute. I can't hear.
Mute. I can't hear. You're on mute, babe. You're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me, yeah? Yeah. All right. About 4 weeks ago, I had a meeting with a charity, and this is what I was doing up in Tottenham, and it was kind of a heated type discussion that we're having. But this white man, he didn't agree with the way how the person was monitoring the meeting, and the brother spoke, and then the white guy went, I won't say his name, he went, you don't have to be so angry. And I was like, whoa, 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 don't use that word. Don't, because he wasn't being angry, but don't use that word. And I had to, and this is in Tottenham, so I had to let him know that it's not a word that you really want to be using just so freely, especially if the police are around. And you just said he's been angry. All of a sudden, that's just alarm bells, right? So it's the use of language. So it's the use of language there. When it comes to our people, it's, oh, they're angry. Well, if you really want to have that discussion, we can have that discussion as well if you want to. I wasn't being angry, but we can maybe tell you why we're angry if you want to have that discussion. Of course, they wouldn't want to have it because they might have to start paying some money. Let me not go there, right? So what I'm saying here is that I totally agree with Theo. The stereotypes, we know the stereotypes. You know, I mean, this is about rejection. I mean, I think we need to come back home to what this whole the whole session is tonight. It's about rejection. It isn't about emotions, but we know that rejections would involve our emotions. But it would be really one of, obviously, you'd be upset with what's happened. You might be a bit angry because of maybe how you parted. But it should not be a thing of, oh, because she's a woman, now it means that she's going to be angry. No, she's just upset of the fact that this is what's happened with regards to rejection. You know, if we're going to stick close to the subject. And vice versa with the guy. Really angry. I might want to just tomp down something.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Thank you, Kellyanne. The subject is rejection, and we know at the beginning of the evening I did say that this is a huge subject and it has so many different branches, so many different stems to it, that we will probably end up speaking about this next week in a different way, in a different dimension. I mean, I'm reading in things here. Depression can come with rejection, and that does. But this is not so much about discussing depression today. This is about identifying what or how we are dealing with rejection. And we know that depression is a part of it, but nobody in the group has mentioned that they suffered with depression, hence why we haven't gone down that road. So that's not an area that we would be discussing today, but it may be something that we discuss next week. I can see Tony's hands. I think there is some issues with sound. Guys, can you hear me? You can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, Lorraine, can you hear me? Lorraine she's struggling. It's in and out. Okay. And Karen, can you hear me? Fantastic. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay. Right. So, we're going to go. Tony, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've got a fair bit of time left. I mean, I do want I can address that subject of depression. It's
I think I'm going to stop you because it's too big a subject.
Okay, I'm literally going to be
all right
2 minutes
because I don't want us to go in it and then we run out of time.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, I've seen somebody comment about rejection being something you experience at a very young age, and yeah, that is, you know, when you ask mum for a PlayStation and she says no, that's rejection, and then you go and cry and you tell your friends your mum won't give you a PlayStation, and then you want sweets and then your mum says no, that's rejection, and you cry because you see other people getting sweets and you can't have it. So we're kind of molded as we grow up from youth on how to deal with rejection. How do we deal with people saying no? Yeah. And I know black people are kind of, in a way, we're probably a little bit hardened to receiving that sentence, no. You know, us of an age, you know, we was commonly told, no, you can't go out, no, you can't do this, no, yeah, and you kind of go, you know what, all right, it never hurt me, it never killed me that I couldn't go out. Listen, I'll tell you the story, yeah. When I hit 15, I went out one night because I kept hearing the no, sneak out the house to go to party because everybody's going party and I can't go. So I sneak out the house. When I come back in at about 6 o'clock in the morning, my mum was waiting for me. Yeah, I dealt with it. I have never had a problem with rejection, and so these things build up in you. And obviously, some people have coping mechanisms, and that's what life is about. Do you build up the emotional resilience to deal with situations, whether that be relationships, whether that be your job, or just generally life in itself? Because of course we're all sat in our house under lockdown, and you know what? Three months in, I'm beginning to get a little bit whoa, because this is a little bit too much isolation for me. Okay, luckily we're coming out of that now, but I swear to God, if that had gone on another month, and that's why we're seeing what people are doing. People are reacting differently. So for me, I can go out, meet a few people, and come home. For other people, they need to go to the beach, they need to go to the street party, so on and so forth. And that's emotional resilience that they're showing. Well, this is how I react to certain situations. And therefore, when it comes to rejection, it's a developed skill on how you deal and what your coping mechanism is all about.
Thank you, Tony. I just want to come in there because I think what you said is key. I think, you know, a lot of us coming from different backgrounds, and I think a lot of us can relate to what you've said about our parents saying no. I think we all kind of, you know, have had that parent say no, and so we've had to build resilience. Jerry's saying, Cherry Phillip is saying, it's not just about being told no, though. It's not having the explanation with the no. So I think in terms of the relationship, this is where, you know, individuals find it really difficult to kind of just work out, well, what actually happened here, especially if they thought that the relationship was working. You know, what's happened here, what went wrong, and then it makes closure difficult. Now, I believe you have to be a certain type of person, as Karen has highlighted earlier. You know, she's very self-assured, and you know, she knows who she is, she knows where she's going, so she kind of just took time and worked that out herself and realized that, you know, her standards is not his standards, and that's now she's closed the door, and now that's now on him. She's dealt with it internally herself. I think that, you know, from judging from what's going on the feed, there are lots of people that are not able to do that. And I think that maybe the panel here are people who have mastered that. So this whole thing with depression and feeling a little bit low, you know, is something that we would have to do separately from this show. I don't think that this is the show to do it in. We have half an hour left of the show, and we cannot do depression in that time. So the show, as I said in the beginning, guys, and I can see the push. I can see there are individuals pushing that agenda. We will do a show on relationship and how depression has a part of that and moving forward, but it will not be today. All right, I'm just saying it will not be today. We have to do things in order, and there is not enough time, and as I said, it will go into different parts of the show. Okay, so right, Parita says life is an experience daily, and rejection and acceptance is growth that doesn't break you, but it makes you stronger. And in some cases it does. In some cases, people are unable to cope with that. But again, we will deal with that on another show. Ruth, you're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay.
So sorry.
It's
So
okay.
sorry. I could only hear certain people, so I was only getting bits, but I'm here.
Okay. So it's glad to have you back. I wanted to ask you from what has the things that have been said thus far in the show, what do you take away from what they've said in terms of your testament of saying of how things affected you 2 years ago?
Well, it's clear some people are just done and some people like goodbyes. I'm just the kind of person that likes goodbye. Like if something's over, just say that it's over. I think it's all right to have that conversation to say to somebody it's over. How you see something is not how I see it. And just say, I just wish that person had the guts just to say, instead of like, I'll see you and go out the door, was to say, I'm leaving you and I'm never coming back. That would have made much more sense because I would have known. I would have been clear. I would have known. But I just think that, as from what I'm hearing, men do it, women do it. I've done it. It happens. It doesn't feel good. But I do feel like moving on is the best choice and looking at yourself. And, I agreed with some of the points that Shalomi said, but some of them I didn't agree with. But for me, I'm not a bragadash kind of run down the road, chase your car kind of person. If you're leaving, goodbye. Next.
Boom! That's a mic. I don't have the mic. We had the mic. Veronica had the mic last week. We've got a golden mic, guys. Shalomi, you've had the mic for several weeks with your lyrics. Moves, I like that, Ruth. Shalomi, come in.
Um, Tony said something a little while about our parents saying no. Jamaican parents, they said no to everything. When they're beating you, they tell you to shut up. Sometimes you don't even know what you get beaten for. So I grew up not knowing why. But somehow I didn't even know that was a kind of rejection. I did not thought that was just the norm. Like, she will ask you a
Who's
question, but you're
commenting
not
more?
allowed to answer
Who's
it.
commenting more? Who do I need to look out for? Can
Oh, I
some
can hear talking.
can
Am I still on?
yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. So I grow up not even know why I'm getting beaten. And while she beating, she will tell you to be quiet. Right? And one thing I've learned, there are times in life when I had to close without a closure. I had to move on. As I said, not relationship with man, but with people, or as I said, some form of institution that can't really go into, right? But I had to learn to move on without closure. I have to learn to let go without even knowing why. And you know what? To be honest, it hurt like hell, and it can either break you, or it makes you. But every rejection, I think, breaks you, and then eventually you have to just move on. It is like you're not gonna know, like friendship. For me, the worst rejection is like friendship, not knowing why the person won't talk to me no more, just not knowing why. And I have to build this. It is what it is. Shall me move on? I have this attitude. Some will, some won't. So what? And as soon as somebody said, I love you, this little voice in my head said, till when? Right? So I have to build up a way of coping, because people tends to move on without even telling you while you sit there waiting on them. And I've realized that. So I realized that sometimes I'm not going to get closure. Right? It's just you know what? I hate it. Like one of the worst things that keep me up is not knowing why. But I've learned, and to say that, oh, it doesn't bother me, I'm lying, right? Because it does. It's like you don't know why. But I've learned to close without closure, with going on without getting the apology. I've learned to move on without knowing why. I've come to the reality I'm good enough for me. And one of the worst rejection I've faced is when I rejected me. I've rejected me trying to belong to a certain group and a certain religion, a certain faith, a certain this, and I rejected me. And I think that was the worst rejection I've ever faced in life, thinking I was not good enough to belong. And I'm thinking, damn girl, why you not good enough? There was a point I thought I was ugly. Look at me. Like, you understand? So people will let you feel even ugly. And if you give people, and that's why I said trust is power. When you give people certain advantage over you, you give them the power to break you, right? They can break you in ways because they have no use for you. And I've realized that. So for me, I'm number 1 to 15. That's where I put myself in life now, right? And I encourage myself. I give myself a word. And if I think this wig ain't working out, I'm going to get a red one, a blonde one. I'm going to change it until one work for me. I look me in the mirror, you understand, and I accept me. I start accepting me. I start loving me. And that's where I find the most, when I started to try and love me, it was hard. Because I know how to love people, I know how to look after everybody, but I didn't know how to love me. I didn't know how to accept me. I didn't know how to appreciate me. I would buy things for people that I thought was too expensive for me, right? So as I said, greatest rejection I face is rejecting Shalomi. And when I look in the mirror, damn, I see a beautiful thing. So right now, people said I'm vain. The same people who rejected me now said I'm vain, right? So I realize when you start loving yourself, that's one of the things that I realize now. When you start loving yourself, people gonna say, oh, she going like she better than anybody. The last time somebody said, remember where you're coming from. I said, yes, I used to use newspaper to wipe my bum. I ain't gonna do that now. I have soft tissue, right? So people expecting you to stay at a level, and I realize that. And one thing I've learned again, you see, when people feed in you, it's all right. This is a wilderness mentality. But when you step out into the promised land and there's more and plenty, you're not waiting for manna, that's another problem. So for me, rejection came through different forms. But one of the greatest rejection I've faced is rejecting this black, beautiful 5'10" piece of right? So now I've learned to love me, and people hated me. So yeah.
Listen, Shalomi, you're dropping the bombs tonight. Listen, me, I tell you, the one thing that I can say, if nothing else, to be learned from tonight's session is to learn to love yourself. Because when you learn to love yourself, it builds up your resilience. It gives you a different kind of look, a different feel about yourself. Self-worth is everything. And if you don't value yourself, this is one of the reasons why rejection kills people. I'm just going to say it again, because rejection kills people. There are many people who have taken their own life because they've been rejected. And it's because they do not have a sense of self-worth. Yeah, self-love is key. It is everything. And I hope that everybody listening in tonight will take that nugget home with them tonight and really start to work on themselves. Shalomi, you touched on another thing. You said when you look in the mirror, there is a thing that we do in the courses that I do mirror work. And that is looking at yourself and speaking to yourself in the mirror. Do you know how many people struggle with that one thing? To look themselves in the mirror and speak to themselves and say, I love you. I love you. Just those 3 simple words. I love you. And they cannot say it to themselves, but they can say it to everybody outside of themselves. Yeah? So for me, if you cannot love the one that you see every day, every single day, then you can't love anybody else outside of you until you learn how to look at yourself and love and accept yourself for who you really are. Lorraine, come in. Lorraine?
Oh, hello?
Hello.
Hello, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
I can.
I was just going to say that, yeah, you're right about that. Shaloni's right, because when the guy rejected me during the lockdown, the COVID lockdown, and I remember I said I didn't notice. I think that is why. It's because I've come to a spiritual level of loving myself. So to me, well, I didn't notice he rejected me, but once it was pointed out to me, I actually just saw it as his loss. It wasn't any loss for me, because he's losing out not knowing me. That's how I saw it. So therefore, it didn't take me into that negative, horrible place where I was rejected in the past. So loving yourself is definitely important. Self-love. I was just agreeing, really.
Thank you, Lorraine. That it's something I think out of the conversation that we've had today is very, very paramount from every single person that has touched and said something. That self-love is key. I know that on YouTube we've got lots of people who are, really wanting to take the conversation down another route. But I'm glad that you've mentioned it, and we will do that. We will look at that conversation, as I said earlier. Carol says, always love yourself. That gives you strength to move forward. It's not always easy at first, but you have to rise up. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that this is really and truly, I'm hearing from all of the panel members, this is something that they've all learned to do, is to reevaluate who they are. I think when you spend so much time pining and asking the question, why? Well, the question that I asked, well, why not? Why not? Why not you? It's going to be something. And as if I speak for myself, and and I talk about relationships that I've been in, I have rejected many, and have been rejected also. It just comes part and parcel with life. And as I believe Tony said, when you're younger, you have to learn to deal with those things. And as you get older, you actually navigate your emotions a lot differently than what you do when you're younger. Unfortunately, not everybody has those tools. Not everybody has those techniques, and people struggle. And this is where we hear the conversation of depression, self-harm, and all of those things come in. But if you learn the life lessons, and I do believe that life is a big lesson, then you can overcome a lot of things that you think are overcoming you. Do we understand that? So we're coming down to it looks like the last 10 minutes of the show. So what I want to do is I want to get something from each and every one. You've got a couple of minutes each. Well, actually, 1 minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 1 minute each. And then I will round up the show. But just before I do that, Kim says, rejection is like grieving. Everyone has a different time frame. And that is so true. Thank you so much for identifying that, Kim. I really like that statement. Right. Also, Desi says, if on this show is so is that permanent? Pertinent. That's the word I'm looking for. And the panel are giving us some great nuggets to take away and think about. So thank you so much. Kelly, are you singing the old hymns now?
No, I was in mute, I was just warming up my voice. I thought I know what I'm gonna do when I'm gonna have my minute. I might have to start my minute, innit?
But you know what, Kelly, and do you know what I think we should do on one of the sessions? I think we should sing. Because Kellyanne is a singer. And then we normally have Cheryl Lucas also. She's another singer. We're all professional singers. Hello. Ruth is a singer as well. I'm telling you, but we'd have to work it out so we don't get the delay. But that's another show. So who wants to go? Who wants to step in first and do their 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes? Or do I need to pick somebody? Kellyanne, you wanted, as you started to sing the song, I'm gonna hand over to you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. I think Mike has definitely been dropped. People in the thread said, Kimson said I got a nice voice. I was gonna say, I found the greatest love of all inside of me. That's what came to me. That's what came to me. When Sloan said all that, I could have been her backing vocal. I believe the children are our future. She's the one, let them lead the way. I thought, yeah, I can sing something there. But anyway, I think some really nice things have been said tonight, and it's about respecting yourself, loving yourself, and that's the first rejection is if we don't do that. This whole thing, we get caught up in this whole male female thing. We are different, but we all came out from a woman. And obviously, in terms of and obviously the difference is that men, our organs came out. With women, it stayed in. That's what the difference is. But we can work it out. But yeah, I've been inspired by today. Some really great comments. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Thank you, Kellyanne. I'm gonna come to Lorraine. Lorraine, do you want to say your? And I'm gonna come in after that. You're on mute. You're on mute, darling. Can we unmute Lorraine?
You're muted, Lorraine.
She can't unmute herself. All right, let's go to Karen. Karen, can you unmute?
Oh, there you go.
There you go. She's done. Wonderful.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think when it comes to rejection, we just need to treat people how you want to be treated. Really, like think about how the other person's considerations and their feelings, and then it should be a lot easier. Be the person that you would want to be rejected by. If that makes any sense.
Be the person that you want to be rejected by. I mean, we know what you mean, Lorraine. But
okay, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, just to say, we've got.
If someone ever rejects me, like in a nice way, I'll say, I can take that. That's all right. I can take that rejection. Thank you.
Okay. We've got Delroy on here. I think it's Delroy Tollock. He says, after you give your all, you just realize how much of yourself is missing. That's quite a deep statement to make. Yeah, but thank you for that. You notice how much of yourself is missing. This is why we must work on ourselves, especially those of us who are single, right? Right. So I'm going to quickly come in. We've only got a few minutes left, so you have to be really, really quick. Tony, come in for me, darling.
Well, thanks for having me again on the panel. It's been entertaining and educational at the same time. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Lovely. Thank you, Tony. Karen, come in for me, please, sweetie.
Hi. So in terms of rejection, we just have to realize that no one can make us whole but ourselves. We need to know who we are, be grounded, and if someone's going to reject us, obviously, but if somebody rejects me, obviously they ain't got no sense. But at the end of the day, you're dodging a bullet. And the sooner I could dodge the bullet, here I am at the end of the day. I just want to be out of it. I don't want any pretense. Rejection, bring it on.
Thank you, my darling. Right, Theo.
Just want to say, before we go into a relationship, just go with clear boundaries and expectations and ideas of what you want. So it should lead to less rejection then, because you've made out from the start what you want to go for, instead of just going in there blind and not too sure as to what happens, and then later on down the line you realize the person wasn't the one, or it wasn't, the relationship was two different relationships because they both were from two different standpoints. So just go in and just talk from the start and get everything out in the open from the get-go before you do anything. Have a good night, everybody. Hope to see you next week as well. God bless.
Thank you, Theo. We've got Ruth and then Shalomi.
Hey, good evening. Great conversation tonight. I was happy to share my experience. I took a lot from what was said. For me, it's about, work on yourself, take care of yourself, work on your personal development, your mindset, your strength, your inner strength, your soul strength. Take all the good, positive learnings that you have and move on fresh and clear for the next relationship. That's what I've done, and that is what I'm embarking on, a healthy relationship. So see you soon.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Shalomi, you got like a second, quick.
What I would say, do not place your happiness in somebody else's pocket. They might just walk off with it. Bill you. Sometimes it's not about going into another relationship with someone. Sometimes it's building a relationship with yourself, learning to love yourself, appreciate yourself, work on yourself. Don't complain that you're too fat and you just sit down and eat. Work on that part. Don't complain about something that you have the control over, and lots of times we put our happiness and what we want in other people's pocket. We don't take responsibility for us. So I would say work on you. Relationship is not always the answer. Sometimes the greatest relationship is getting to know you, spending time with you, taking you out on a date, taking you out on a holiday, taking you out shopping, looking after you, and then you can take people on into your life. So I would say, work on you. Yeah, and lovely session, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys. Guys, you've been amazing this evening. Absolutely on the ball, on point. And really, there isn't much for me to finish the show with. The only thing I can say is, just to reiterate what everybody has really said this evening. And one of the things is having a relationship with yourself. Yourself is your best friend. There is no one like yourself. Loving the self is so powerful and it is key. And so take some time, especially those who are single and who are looking to be in a relationship with somebody else. Learn to be in a relationship with yourself. Love
Yvonne,
yourself.
can I just quickly say something?
Hold on,
Yeah.
let me just
Okay.
shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one little thing.
Go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go for it.
And ladies, sometimes you don't really need a man. You will realize that a dildo can just do the job. And you understand, work with a dildo before you. All right.
Well, Shalomi, you took the words right out of my mouth, But we, guys, just know this.
Say the benediction now. Say the benediction, yeah.
No, the benediction.
Say the benediction.
Do you know what? There is always, this is why it's so key to stay to the end of the show, because there's always something that happens. Listen, we will be having a show on sex toys. We will be. So in the future, yes, Tony's, yeah, we will be. This is after dark. We can talk about anything. Yeah, there's a bag of tricks that will come out, because we're not holding anything back. We want to be in relationships. We want to be in good relationships. We want to be in healthy relationships. So this is why we do this show, so each and every one of us can grow. Thank you for the interruptions, Shalomi. We have come to the end of After Dark for this session. Episode 15 has been off the chain. We will be back here next week at 10 p.m. right here, MediaNet Live TV, along with Yvonne Michelle TV. We are doing it different. We're doing it like this. We want to say thank you. God bless you. Stay safe. Be good. If you cannot be good, be careful. Ciao. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.
You ready? You got me running. You got me running. Got me running.